Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live Saturday, 15 November 2014. Episode 121, Dirtbags Using Dirtboxes. Welcome once again. I've lost my co-host.
Yeah, you guys thought I wasn't here today, right? I am here.
And I thought maybe you were just falling out because of the title of the episode.
No.
So I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm here with
The elusive, reclusive Robert Flamingo.
So, dude, have you been doing any bike riding in this wintry weather we've been having?
Actually, I'll be doing a lot more of it. I'm going to be riding my bike to work from now on.
What?
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah, just a little glove, an extra jacket will be good.
Extra jacket. Bring a parka, man. I moved to Del Rio to get away from this kind of weather, and it's just crazy what we've got going right now. I mean, it's, 44 degrees right now?
Something like that. But, you know, the way it's, you mentioned earlier in the other podcast that we have the two seasons, you know?
Yes, summer and February.
Yeah, you know, so it's kind of like, it can be cold this week, and then next week it's going to be in the 80s, you know? So you just never really know.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
What's the saying we have right now? 44 degrees.
44.
That's just too cold. Anything below 80 is too cold for me.
Well, I seem to recall we did a dive in a lot colder weather than this.
Yeah, but we had actually almost no wind, and it was bright sunshiny. So,
no, remember when we did the spring? It was
we had the trailer parked right up to the spring. The spring was a balmy 76 degrees.
Yeah, we dove in a sauna.
Sauna. Right now, that's about what the water is. Well, it's about 72. Yeah, about 72. So it would be much warmer in the water right now.
Yes.
I would be wearing my 7 mil full at this point.
Oh, of course.
Because 2 weeks ago I did the dive. 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. Did a dive. Yeah, it was on the first. I did a dive, and I was still in my 5 mil full. A little chilly at the end, but not too bad. But I was like, okay, by the time I do my next dive, I'm sure I'm going to be in the 7 mil full.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so what's been up with you, man?
Just busy, to say the least.
You got to play with the high school kids doing the homecoming, huh?
You know, that was okay. I was at to the point already to where it was like, just like the darn thing. Then they were
Move along.
Yeah, they were like, well, we're not sure it's going to light. Well, sure enough, I mean, the palace.
That's what I said.
They were soaking wet. I mean, because
it was rain for 3 days,
for
4 days.
You know, and it didn't, I mean, yes, it was drizzling, but it was a constant drizzle day and night. So the wood was extremely saturated with water. But hey, I don't know what they put on it. They're like, yeah, you guys don't worry about this. And they put something and it lit. So
gosh.
I was like, you know what?
And nobody lost their lives in the process.
I'm like, you can napalm the whole field for all I care. Let's just get it done.
Because we need to warm up.
Yeah. But, you know, you could feel the heat all the way to the stadium. So it was.
Really?
Yes. Wow. It was neat. It was pretty neat.
Wow. So let's see. Let's start off the top. Movie reviews. For sure, I want to review Interstellar. Since Del Rio has neglected to get decent movies here in the last several weeks, I don't know why they've been missing out on some really good movies, but they just haven't brought them to Del Rio, so I'll have to wait till they come on pay-per-view or Hulu or something like that. But finally, Interstellar made it here, and I gotta say that, for me and for Tara both, movie of the year. Movie of the year. The cinematography, if you want to turn that down a little bit, that's fine. The CGI for the planets and the space travel were spectacular. Interestingly, even though the movie is called Interstellar, a huge portion of it if not the majority of the movie, is just spent on Earth. So, but the storyline was cool. You have to kind of, if you're like me and you totally don't buy the global warming myth, you kind of have to disregard the gloom and doom. They're talking about that kind of stuff. But it was, excuse me while I bring our additional co-host up here. Come here. Hopefully he'll settle down. He's been fidgety. Say hi to everybody. He just looks at the camera and is like, what do you want me to say? So anyway, so you disregard that hullabaloo and just accept it as a story. And it's a good thing about family and, passing on a generation, it's a fantastic story. I don't want to go into too many details for those who haven't seen it already. But I like how it's the same guy who did the Dark Knight series of movies, and Inception and Memento, and so he's just, that guy is on a roll.
Nolan,
yeah. Christopher Nolan. He is on a roll. He is knocking him out of the park as far as how he visualizes and brings to the audiences. Now, this is a long movie. It's almost 3 hours.
Wow.
So, we went to the 7 o'clock showing on a Sunday, and we were glad we loaded up on the popcorn because you could get you will be ready for dinner.
Wow.
Afterward. But fantastic movie. With as far as Matthew McConaughey is concerned, there are movies I like him in. There's movies I just can't stand him in. He's just kind of all over the map when it comes to his acting style. But he was excellent in this movie. If I had any complaint, it's at times the way he typically delivers his lines. It comes across as kind of a mumble sometimes. You've seen that car commercial?
Yeah.
Car drive by myself, so you kind of have to go, what we were saying. So it's one of those movies that you kind of want to see over again just so you can catch all the dialogue. Some interesting little cameos in the movie too. I was like, oh, he's in the movie for that long. But I liked the ending. As a geek tech head who early starting in junior high, I got interested in black holes and studying about that kind of stuff. I have watched all like the Discovery Channel and all these various science shows that tell people, the general public, here's some other things that we found out about these things, and here's some more star phenomenon we understand, blah blah blah. There's that Japanese American guy who is featured a lot on those kind of shows, and he gives a lot of the physics and quantum mechanics and things like that. And so I was envisioning him explaining all of this stuff going on. So there were aspects that I thought, okay, I've not heard any theory put forth by anybody that is anywhere near this kind of explanation. But they did do, as I read later, a lot of research to try to bring more science than fiction to this to make it more believable. So if you're a geek tech head following the space science stuff, you will have to suspend a little bit of disbelief at certain points to get past the storytelling, or to allow the storytelling to not get derailed. But outside of that, I just thought it was a breathtaking movie. I'm actually, even though it was almost 3 hours long, I'm actually anxious to see if when it does come out on Blu-ray, that there is a director's cut or whatever that has some other some. And I hate it when they put the extra scenes as a separate thing. I want a version that has all those in, so it keeps the flow. because there were a couple scenes that I thought, oh, there's got to be more to that part
I'm
that
sure.
they cut for just to keep it under 3 hours.
Yeah, and I'm sure because that's what happened with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know, when they
Wasn't
had
there like almost a half hour extra? Of
there
one
was
of the movies?
about half hour to 45 minutes on each one.
Oh wow!
So and those movies were long.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So it's cool that because when you buy the extended or the limited edition one,
Right.
They actually put it in where it's supposed to be.
That's
so
what
it just
I want.
and it just plays straight. But you're like, hey, I don't remember that from the movie. That must be part of the new one.
Right.
That was something that was left out. But yeah, I mean 4 hours though per movie.
Yeah, no
I mean
kidding.
that's like an all day thing.
That's it. Just strap yourself in, get your colostomy bag, and just not even leave for the bathroom.
That's right.
Now, when I posted that I felt this was the best movie of the year, you responded that you felt another movie was better.
Yes.
Now, is that a movie you actually saw, or are you just trying to get my chain?
No,
okay.
no.
So would you like to review that movie?
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. Fury. For me, I thought Fury was an awesome movie. Wasn't really interested in seeing it, ironically enough. Just kind of like, I feel like I wanted to see it, but I actually had other movies that I wanted to see. I wanted to see The Judge, didn't make it. There was a couple of other ones that I wanted to see that left, unfortunately, like you mentioned. I mean,
what's this?
for Ouija board. I mean, I don't
oh, give me a break.
I don't know what about that one, but hey, it is what it is. Annabelle. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Really?
So I got to see Fury and was extremely blown away of the movie itself. As far as the like the way it was and everything, it kind of reminded me of a Saving Private Ryan type thing.
Yeah.
It was really good, but it wasn't off the wall.
Okay.
It wasn't something like, oh, okay, they're just gonna go in a tank. I mean, they took a beating, and in the end, I don't think you've seen it, so I don't want to kind of give it away. But at the end, it just kind of sums up the whole movie, and it's like, wow. I mean, there was some things that I didn't expect, and I'll just go as far as saying they do a lot of damage at the end of the movie. But it's cool the way that they were fighting. They depict the German tank, since it takes place in World War II.
Right.
How the Tiger German tank was, its armor was thicker than any tank ever before made. And I mean, these things were taking like shells and they were just like and bounce off.
Right.
Then the Tiger tank would shoot one, and I mean, it would literally go through the whole tank. I mean, leave holes,
Wow.
I mean, it was pretty interesting.
And based on a true story.
Yeah, it's based on a true story, and it's really cool because they actually come up to this crossroad that they're supposed to, kind of hold it, and their tank hits a landmine and it blows a track. So they're in the process of fixing the track when a whole battalion of SS is coming.
Oh, correct.
So then they make a decision, and that's all as far as I'll leave it at that. But it was really good. I liked the way it was done. Mostly, like I said, I just didn't expect it to be that good, to where like I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna see it. It's gonna be all right. Brad Pitt did a really good job, except the accent that he tends to use in a lot of these movies reminded me of the accent that he had in Inglourious Bastards. He's got like a
being typecast.
Yeah, he kind of had like a Texan type voice, and it was cool because he was a lieutenant in the movie, and there are some scenes there to where he's got to maintain his composure, and then he tells his team, okay, I need you to go over there and just take something, and he gets behind the tank and he breaks down. He starts crying and shaking and everything, and he gets together and he's like, all right, let's go, we're gonna go back. And so I kind of like that. He wasn't superhero or anything.
Well, like in World War Z.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And I kind of like those type of movies that, I mean, they're not over the top with their CGI and everything. Everything there that was done really well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't stuff that couldn't be done. Everything was like legit. Cool. So I liked it.
Okay, awesome. So have you seen the trailer or trailers? They have an extended version now of the next Avengers movie.
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
You haven't. Okay. Let me.
We're gonna have to.
Let me see if I can find that.
No, I actually have not.
It is Trey Cool, my friend. And I'll have to. I'll ask you your opinion of what, because I have not been able to read anything about any leaked storyline, but I have my guesses as to the basic parts of this. Let's see if it's on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube. All right.
But I give Fury a 10.
I definitely would give
Interstellar
a 10. All right. Here's 2 trailer, Age of Ultron. Let's see, Avengers. Let's see if I can extend it. There we go. All right. Switch to screen reader. Where are you? UK. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, whosoever be he worthy, you shall have the power. Whatever, man. It's a trick.
Oh, it is much more than that, my friend.
If I lift it, do I get to rule Asgard?
Yes, of course.
I will be fair but firmly cruel. Be right back.
This is the arm bird.
Are you even pulling?
Are you on my team?
Just represent, pull.
All right, let's go. Come on, Cap.
Nothing.
Oh, no, that's not a question I need answered.
The handle's imprinted. Whosoever is carrying Thor's fingerprints is, I think, the literal translation.
Yes, well, that's a very interesting theory. I have a simpler one. You're all not worthy.
How could you be worthy? You're all puppets, tangled in strings.
It's the end. The end of the path I started us on.
Nothing lasts forever.
Hulkbuster. She's got to be Scarlet Witch. She was in the prison or whatever it was at the end of this.
Yeah.
One movie.
There are no strings on me.
So, is that interesting or what?
It
All right,
is.
so that looked like at the you remember at the end of Iron Man 3,
Mm-hmm.
he had all of his various armor controlled by Jarvis,
Mm-hmm.
helping him battle Mandarin.
Right.
I'm thinking something caused Jarvis to morph in those, and they are self-aware kind of thing.
Became like an AI type.
Yeah,
thing?
that's what I'm thinking. And then because there's another version of this where as he's there, all of a sudden you see a number of them come blasting through the wall. So I'm thinking he then now also controls all of those. And he's maybe it's either that or maybe those the twins
Mm-hmm.
or the brother and sister somehow converted or got the armor to become alive, kind of a thing and
It's
become
possible.
Ultron. So.
Well, it's kind of like he also said he also said something in the trailer like, "This is something that I started."
yeah, well, yeah, that's what Tony Stark said.
Yeah, so maybe this is I think I would agree with you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it seems like at this point. And then he just slowly does the upgrades and stuff, and so he looks like he does at the end of the trailer.
Yeah,
there, so.
huge and more.
Yeah, pretty cool. And of course, we in the comics they had the Hulkbuster armor, and it was pretty cool to see that. Now I'm wondering what's causing the schism where the Avengers are fighting each other, kind of a thing. That was pretty cool. And what was the deal with Captain America's shield? That's supposed to be unbreakable.
Yeah,
It's was it vibranium? It's able
Yeah.
to take every hit, and it just the way it handles vibrations, it just
it just blows it off.
dissipates it, so it can't destroy the metal. Vibranium, I think that's what it was called.
Either that, or maybe it was a replica shield or something that somebody had and he used it.
Very, very interesting. Okay.
All right.
Moving along. On the strange front in scuba diving world, we kind of had shown this a year ago, I think. There was a guy who came up with a course you could take, but it wasn't an official course. The Zombie Apocalypse Diver. Well, he got approval. You can get that certification now as part of your master diver. Believe it or not.
Wow.
So let me bring up the screen region again. So if you go to zombieapocalypsediver.com, you can see all details on it. And and he said, yes, it's a legitimate specialty dive course. And you get a certificate. And it's the only Patty card. As a matter of fact, do they have a picture of it? I thought I saw a picture of it. Let me go back to the open one. I know I saw it. Glasses. I've seen a picture of the card. That's the only one you can get that you can do the you can do yourself in zombie makeup. Normally when you take send in your photo for your certification card, whatever level, it's got to be just a normal one with a white background, no glasses or any of that stuff, or no sunglasses or anything like that. And the actual certification card now for this, you can be in full zombie. You don't have to be, but you can be in full zombified for your picture on it. It's the only one that allows a special photograph to be taken.
Wow.
And it can count towards your master diver certification. Now, I was reading up because I thought, The Walking Dead is a super popular series. I don't understand it, but I mean, everything you turn around and you see is zombie this, zombie that. There's Z Nation now on Sci-Fi Channel or one of those. I thought, that might be a way to encourage divers is to become an instructor for that.
Yeah.
So, but there apparently the only way you can, it's specially licensed. So even though it's fully sanctioned by Patty, they don't license it. You have to go straight to what is it? Here we go. New England Ski and Scuba. What a combination. New England Ski and Scuba to request licensing to actually teach the course. And then they send the materials and the certificates. And it's you get a special band.
Oh, wow.
What's pretty cool is it involves working like a lift bag type situation where you have to, it's a scenario based thing. And when you're teaching the course, the way you teach the course is whoever's instructing is actually like the head of this organization, and you're briefing your team on what you have to do. Zombie apocalypse has happened, and here's some things we've got. There's a doctor that's missing, and he's got a special gas that helps deal with this situation, but we've got to recover it because it's at the bottom of whatever the water is that you're going to be dealing this with. So you have to figure out how to lift this thing up, and it combines search and recovery, first aid, rescue diver. So it's 2 dives. The whole thing is 2 dives, and then there's groundwork to do, but it's basically pulls together some of some skills that probably aren't used as much, but are great things to actually hone up on.
So is this something
cool.
you're going to?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. That would be pretty cool.
Well,
I mean,
well, definitely if you teach this class, I'm going to be one of your students. Because I just love doing all that stuff.
Because you did that. Didn't you help out with that zombie run that they had?
Yeah.
That we showed pictures of. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean they were in full makeup. Those people, and it was one lady actually doing all of the makeup, and her daughter is there at the high school, and she's one of the Queen City Belles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never would have thought of it.
This is pretty cool. Oh, here we go. I got to show this. So here's the stuff that comes with the deal. So they got the training, the manual, and everything.
Cool.
You got your survival guide. That's pretty cool. You get a T-shirt with the logo. You can do a hat. Here's the band that you get. That's pretty cool. I thought I saw a picture of the car, and it was pretty neat. Anyway, so I'm thinking about maybe getting licensed to do that for next year. That would be kind of neat.
Cool.
That would be unique for Southwest Texas.
Yeah.
You like Walking Dead, like scuba diving, we have a way for you to prepare for the zombie apocalypse. Be a zombie apocalypse diver.
Maybe we can get Roland to go through it.
No.
Right. Yeah, right.
Well, you know what was interesting? The guy who put this together also is working with a local martial arts instructor organization to come up with a zombie defender land course. Not anything to do with scuba diving, but it would be one of those things that you could kind of marry up. So it'd be a way to get trained in martial art, but it would be for like the theme would be the zombie thing. I'm like, well, that is a way to market something uniquely.
Yeah, because everybody right now is on the zombie kick.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do a little soapbox stuff tonight in addition to some of the scuba stuff. But first, let's knock out a couple of just a little minor bits of tech news. I've been doing the Windows 10 preview on the test machine I have here, and they just pushed out another update, and Windows 10 sucks worse than it did before. So I just, at this point, I absolutely hate everything about Windows 10. I love Windows 8. I hate Windows 10. And they broke the OneDrive program, so it doesn't do the smart files thing to where you basically have to manually select. It either does syncs all of your files, or you have to manually select stuff.
Wow.
Because I guess some idiots found the smart file process that's in Windows 8 too confusing. The smart file process was cool in that your OneDrive folder hierarchy all synced, but only you could tell which folders or set of folders were available offline. What this was great for is you would see all of your files, or at least what they called placeholders for all of your files, so you know what you have. So if you create a new file, let's say on a PC, you open up your tablet and pull up your OneDrive app, and you'd see, oh, well, there's this file I just created. But it wouldn't necessarily download the whole thing in case you were worried about space. I thought this is brilliant. So I could select on each machine which folders or whatever I want the files available offline. Otherwise, it just creates the placeholder, and when you click on it, it basically interfaces you online for the file without using any more space on your machine. I thought that's brilliant. That's a great way to do it, especially with cheaper and cheaper tablets that have less and less storage on it, relying more, and smartphones,
Right.
and let you rely on the web where it made sense to. Out the door. You cannot access anything through the web. It is, well, you can go to the online, but if it shows up there, it's either synced or it's not. So there is no placeholder anymore. So you have to select all the files that you want synchronized on each device.
And if you don't, well, it's not available.
It's not available. I'm like, that is just so stupid. And people complained. I wasn't the only one who complained, but many people complained. Microsoft said, well, the Smart Files thing was too confusing for some people, and so we're not going back to that. So Microsoft is really angering me considerably. I'm just never. I've sent so many complaints about Windows 10 to their feedback site now. They're probably tired of hearing from me. Although every once in a while they'll tweet back and say, "Well, could you put this in this place? We got a link for you to put this information in." And so I just think they're just trying to placate me because I'm always telling them that their Windows 10 sucks, which it does. At this rate, I will not be upgrading to, or what I call downgrading to Windows 10 because it's going backward. Everything runs on the desktop now. Everything. Wow. Even the Metro apps, they all run on the desktop. You can't run them like this anymore. I'm like,
So if you're using Windows 8, then the placeholders and everything are still working.
Works great.
Okay.
So I'm sticking with that because that is just saving so much time and so much space in storage. So I don't recommend Windows 10 for anybody. On a more positive note, of course, since they went with the zero licensing for their operating system for smaller devices, etc. And so everybody and their mother has been coming out with devices now. It's kind of like what Android did. You know, they started out kind of really slow, but then once they made it, basically anybody could do it. OEM after OEM after OEM were coming out with devices. And I think that's what allowed Android to really kind of take hold. Nobody thought it would. I mean, nobody thought it would. And so now we're seeing devices come out with Windows 8 and Windows Phone, but Windows 8 a lot, especially the mini tablets. But one of the things we've been doing, or I've been doing at church, is since I have my Surface Pro 3, is now it's very convenient to access all of my charts, which I've always had them on the cloud because I could allow all my praise team members to I granted them share access to it. So they could download their charts for the bass player, the guitar player, whatever. So it made it convenient. So if I do the chart for a new song, I'd say, okay, it's available. And so they go access it and they can practice. Great. And so I have a big binder, which you can see over there, of all of the songs that we do.
Yeah.
It's a lot of songs. I mean, it's a big 4-inch binder. But it gets kind of annoying at times when you're playing your regular set of songs and you decide, you know what, we want to do this song. Something happens, you're like, okay, this song perfect for this moment. You have to open the binder and flip through the pages and pull it out and set it up on the.
And that's what we do. That's what we're doing at
you have
church.
Binders.
We got binders, everything, and it's like, okay, well, hold on, and well, it's kind of easy for me. Because most of it is just basic, basic.
As long as
beats.
you've heard the song before and know where it's going to go, you can kind of go. You can do by ear. You can do.
Right. I'll just play it, and then every now and then I'll add maybe a roll or something just to change it a little bit.
Right.
But for the most part, it's easy. But for the other guys.
Where they're actually reading charts.
Right. They're looking at
maybe a song that they don't do a lot.
They're looking at the music and they're looking, okay, I come in at this point or the changes in the song.
Yep.
And they're like they're literally playing and then they stop. Cuz then they look and they're looking at the guy who's doing it and he's like, keep going,
go, don't stop.
But they have to wait until they pass the part that they don't know and then they start again. Especially the bass player. I mean, he'll literally like stop.
Oh wow!
And he's just looking at it, and he kind of waits, And then when it gets back into like the chorus, and he starts again because he knows that. But certain changes, and I'm looking because I kind of go along with the bass player sometimes.
Right.
So I'm like, he'll stop, and it kind of throws me off a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's just nerve wracking. But we show up with binders like that, and
Yep.
and
Well, I finally got to a point where I thought, I've got this tablet, and it accesses all of my charts. So I started just pulling up the songs we're doing because it's right there. I just pull it up on there. I can see it in any kind of lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to, with your regular paper, I have to make sure that the lights are working correctly. Otherwise, it's hard for me to see, because I have to get my old man glasses to see. So if the light's bad, I have a hard time with it. Well, it's easy for anybody to read a tablet because it's lit.
it's lit.
And I can immediately call up any songs that I need to on the fly. It's very easy to do. And it's an easy thing to just kind of just tap the screen and flip through the pages if I want to. So I started doing that both with the Praise team and then also with Living Water Sound. And that's worked out great. So I thought, you know what? Why doesn't the rest of the team go this route? Well, it just so happened that as I was starting to do this, the company called EFUN, which up to this point had made their money off of a plethora of Android tablets, they now came out with a 10-inch Windows 8 tablet. And just in time for Black Friday, they're going to have they had a 10-inch tablet, and just in time for Black Friday, they're going to have an 8-inch tablet.
Oh, wow.
$99 for the 8-inch
Wow.
tablet, and $179 at Walmart. Both of these available through Walmart. $179 with a detachable keyboard.
Cool.
Now, this is in no way the thin light thing like an iPad or the Surface Pro 3, but for $179, beautiful screen. I wouldn't replace my laptop with it unless I just do light stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you can with the Surface Pro 3, but if you want a tablet and you're used to the Windows operating system and you're using files, etc., that are more native to working with Windows, $179, decent little unit. It was cute. Got it for Tara, and so last Sunday she used it for for her charts,
Mm-hmm.
and works out great. Our bass player is getting one of those too.
Cool.
Troy bought two.
Oh, wow.
One for Jennifer to use, and then also one for his daughter who's going to college. So so he's probably going to end up with a third one, I'm sure, for himself. But nice little unit. Now, given it's $179, there's going to be some drawbacks.
Oh, I'm
And so,
sure. Yeah.
in the interest of full disclosure, I'll share our own experience with those. Troy, I will say, having bought two units, has not run into these issues, or these concerns. But here's what I ran into. The connector for the power is a very non-standard. It's a really small tip sleeve type female connector.
Mm-hmm.
And on Tara's unit, you have to insert it just right. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to make a good connection. Troy says he has no problem. He plugs it right in and it works fine.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but it's a non-standard type connector. So, and it's because it's so small, it's not like the kind of connector.
Mm-hmm.
It's this type that's on this unit, but it's really tiny.
Okay.
I mean, it's not much bigger than a what's the word I'm looking for? Toothpick.
Oh, okay.
It's that tiny. So I could see that being a weak point. Let's see. Also, the camera's horrible. It's like a 0.2 megapixel for the front. It's got both cameras. It's got like a 2 megapixel one for the rear facing one, and it's okay. It's like some of the early notebooks and tablets, but But the front-facing one, the one that you would typically use for Skype, it's horrible. It's like the ones you typically saw on the flip phones. I mean, it's that bad. I mean, it's very grainy. You better have plenty of light. But you know, again, for $179, you're not expecting to have a decent camera with it.
Yeah.
But it does have them, so it is functional. So if you had to Skype with it, you could Skype. I wouldn't be up there taking pictures, which is another pet peeve of mine. I hate it when I see people taking pictures with your tablet. Use your smartphone or a real camera. Don't use your tablet. It's just so annoying. You're blocking 3 people behind you holding your stupid tablet up taking a picture.
Saw that during the bonfire. There was a lot of people.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Didn't you want to go smack them?
With their iPads.
Ugh.
You know, videotaping.
Stupid. It's stupid, okay? Now, one other thing. I don't think that the 8-inch tablet I could be wrong, because I haven't seen a lot of details outside of just the basic specs. I don't think the 8-inch version of this is going to come with this, but the 10-inch version comes with a free year subscription to Office 365.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, fortunately, we already have a subscription to Office 365, which you can put on 5 PCs and 5 tablets or smartphones.
Oh, okay.
So we have exactly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's 5 PCs and 5 tablets or / smartphones. So we actually could get 3 more tablets if we wanted to put them on there. But so we have it came with a subscription to Office 365 that we're not using. We can't use because we've already got one that we're sharing. But that's pretty cool because you get a terabyte. Actually, no, with Office 365 you get unlimited storage. So,
wow,
yeah, that's pretty cool. So if you're looking for a stocking stuffer and you can't afford an iPad or a Surface Pro, depending on which ecosystem you want to go for, but you want an inexpensive tablet, $179 for a 10-inch or $99 for an 8-inch ain't too shabby. And the 10-inch version has a keyboard with it. That's decent.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. Okay, this is sort of tech related, but not. This is where we slide into the soapbox arena. It's becoming. It's now been revealed that since 2007, our government has been, through the U.S. Marshal Service, has been spying on us in a way that nobody had a clue about. What they've been doing is, and this is where the title of the episode comes from, they have been outfitting Cessna aircraft with a special mobile cell tower and then flying over cities and basically hijacking your cell phone. See, the way cell phones work, and I'll pull up the slideshow on this. They have this thing, this thing that they're using is called a Dirtbox. And so basically, as you see on the display here, planes equipped with fake cell phone tower devices or Dirtboxes can scan thousands of cell phones looking for a suspect. But the thing is, it's pulling in all this data regardless. Mm-hmm. So it's without benefit of a warrant.
Right.
See, normally what they had to do with the current law is they have to go get a court order to jack into and work with a cell company to jack into their system in order to try to track down potential criminals.
That's correct.
Well, with this they don't, because they're just flying around with their own tower. And so what happens is, according to the description, non-suspect cell phones are let go, and the Dirtbox focuses on gathering information from the target. But in the meantime, it's acquiring all this information till it decides it's found the target cell phone. So what happens is your cell phone looks for the strongest tower to talk to. Mm-hmm. Okay? But the thing is, this device is able to fake it out. Even if it's a weaker signal, it's able to make your phone think, oh, this is the strongest tower. So it says, okay, I'm going to lock onto that. So it locks onto their Dirtbox. So these dirt bags are flying around, and they're absorbing all of your information till they find somebody they're looking for. And, of course, they claim, oh, nothing happens to all that data. But then now we're finding out, no, actually, they're holding on to it. They are storing it. So if you see any Cessnas kind of flying around over the city and doesn't look like they're necessarily looking to land, you may be, and you're on your cell phone, there's a good possibility that you're jacked into by their system.
I saw one the other day, actually.
Did you really?
Yeah. Hadn't seen one in a long time. Not a Cessna. I mean, most of the time I see...
Well, I guess they have to fly slow enough for this to work properly.
Yeah,
so that's why a Cessna would make perfect.
This one was cruising over Del Rio. Most of the time we don't see it. Since we see like we see the big planes leaving every day, like the FedEx and all of them.
Yeah.
UPS and all that. And, of course, the only thing that we see is helicopters because either it's Border Patrol, DPS, or the hospital service when they come and drop off people. Or pick up people, I'm sorry. Because who would want to come to Del Rio, right?
Wait a minute.
No, we get shipped out. But I did see actually a Cessna, now that you mention it, last week cruising around Del Rio. But to me, I thought, well, maybe he was a student pilot or something. When
we had the Aero Club here, yeah, that would be a very strong possibility.
But now, no, and it was weird because I did see it was a blue and white plane, just cruising around Del Rio.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to be suspicious of every Cessna flying around. Well, according to, and again, more information is kind of coming out as people dig into this because everybody is like, wait, what? The device is being used by the U.S. Marshals Service and identifies itself as having the closest, strongest signal, even though it doesn't, and forces all phones that can detect its signal to send it their unique registration information. Even having encryption on one's phone, including Apple's iPhone 6, they have that new encryption stuff, doesn't prevent the process. So nothing new can avoid getting jacked by this thing. So the government no longer needs phone companies to give them tower information now that they can collect it themselves. Of course, this is over collection of data because they're just basically saying, okay, let's gather all this until we actually find our target. That's over collection of data, and this is unconstitutional. It's against the law.
Yep. So my question is me being the law man. Yes. The law man. Even though that the information is gathered and they find their suspect, it's still the way I would look at it is even if they were to get information and say find the person they're looking for, how they got to them and everything else, I think would have to come out and you know what? I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes. How would that be admissible?
Exactly. I think it would be fruit from the poisonous tree because it's information that was obtained illegally to begin with.
Well, their argument is going to be, or has been up to this point, it's no different than, because they're using their own equipment, it's no different than if they were sitting outside on the street with one of those telescopic microphones that can listen to
conversations.
It can listen to the hairs rubbing together off a fly. Okay,
right.
Do you ever see the movie Blowout with John Travolta? That kind of thing. So their argument is, hey, we're using our own equipment. We're not hacking into their towers. We've got our own. That just happens to be listening in off the air,
which is still illegal though.
Well, again, they're arguing that it's no different than sitting out on the road, out in front of your house, just kind of listening.
Okay, now
they can do that.
I could see. Okay, let's.
Well, I'm saying they're wrong, but I'm just saying that's
right.
The argument.
Well, let's go ahead and. I think the only way I see this happening is they're using it as a tool to be able to get information like of a suspect.
Right.
Like in other words, I suspect you of whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around. I get information from you using all this illegal,
Right.
Stuff. And all it does is now I'm looking at you. So now I'm going to be following you as a potential, suspect. And once I get enough evidence to think, okay, he is doing something wrong, I got him now. Then I actually go to the judge and get the warrant, and then now I start actually doing the full enchilada. But the thing is, still though, it's just wrong.
I know. So the ACLU and a number of other citizens groups are going to be pushing hard to find out more about this. So I'm sure there's more to come. This is just in the last day or so come to light. Matter of fact, as I was preparing this, I heard even Fox News already start talking about it, and I think CNN may have been talking about it too. So I'm like, oh, good grief.
Well, I saw something that AT&T was doing that illegal cookie thing. Did you hear about that?
No, what?
Yeah. Hey, let me see if I can find it. It just came out. I just read it today, actually.
Illegal cookie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's chocolate chip. I'm okay with that.
No, unfortunately, this is an illegal chip.
Illegal chip.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it really quick. I just saw it today. But yeah, that was kind of weird because it popped up and it caught my attention because it was AT&T. AT&T customers can opt for tracking in advance.
Opt for tracking in advance. How's that different from location services? Or it's not a free service, but you can also have
Okay, it says information comes after AT&T on Friday shuts down a controversial program that allowed it to track customers' web surfing without detection.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and I'll tweet this so that those of you out there want to check it out. But AT&T ends tracking of customers by super cookies.
Oh, that's a new term. Super cookies.
Yep.
That could have been an alternate title.
And it just the unique identifier code marks each website by subscriber visited that allows a company and advertisers to build up a profile of everything the subscriber does online by following the trail of sites he or she visited.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was AT&T doing that, which I think is just kind of wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
So there you go. I just tweeted that, so you can look at it upon your leisure. There's just so much stuff going out there nowadays. I mean, everybody
is breaking the law.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of unconstitutional, if for those who may have been under a rock lately, of course, the news has been a buzz about, and the interwebs have been a buzz about our president signaling that he's about to do an executive order to basically provide amnesty for about 5 million illegal immigrants. He's terming it delaying portation, but in the delaying of the portation, he's apparently going to be, of course, we're still waiting for the actual details of the executive order, but the detail, the delaying the portation also will allow them to get work visas, also allow them to get health care, basically it's opening the door to, just like what happened in 1986, I think it was, when Reagan was president and the Congress said, oh, okay, here's what we'll do. Because, we had the exact same problem then. They said, all right, here's what we'll do. We'll grant amnesty to they straight up called it amnesty for those who are here, but we're going to secure the borders. They granted the amnesty without securing the borders. And that's exactly what's going to happen again. They're just going to. Now, the problem is the president has apparently, and he's a constitutional scholar, okay? But the problem is he apparently has forgotten the part about in the Constitution about the separation of powers, and that we have 3 branches of government. We have the judicial, we have the legislative, and we have the executive branch. The executive branch doesn't get to rewrite the laws. The executive branch is supposed to execute the laws as they are passed by the legislative branch. And like it or not, we have proper immigration laws already in place, and he and former Attorney General Eric Holder have been playing the picking and choosing of which ones to execute. You don't have that option. You can modify the details of how they're executed, but you don't get to choose not to execute them. Otherwise, you're the non-executive branch. So now there's this big wrestling match going on. A staring contest really is all it's amounting to between Congress and the president. If he does this, I'm sorry. There is no way in the world that it's not unconstitutional. But it just angers me that we're just playing fast and loose with the Constitution, and all of these people are going to be now legally allowed to add more load to a welfare type system. When I say welfare, I don't mean just welfare. I mean a system that is providing various services in the form of healthcare, etc., for people that are supposed to be our citizens, that we can't afford as it is. We've already got over $17 trillion in debt. 17 trillion. We can't even afford to pay the interest on our debt right now. And yet he wants to do something that is going to just add 5 million or more people onto the load of that system. I'm just like, what world do you think that makes any kind of sense whatsoever? Everybody, the thing is, everybody keeps talking about, well, most Americans and most of Congress is in favor of immigration reform. Okay, define for me what that means to you. What this person says immigration reform is may be a completely different thing from what this person says. It's like when we're running up to the election, and the question that all the pollsters kept asking was, do you think America's on the right track? That's just a generic question, because let's say you and I were exactly opposite political ends of the spectrum, and you could say that we could both say the exact same thing, that yes, we think America's on the wrong track, but for exactly the opposite reasons. I could be saying that we don't have enough people being taken care of, and you could be saying, wait a minute, it's not the government's job to take care of everybody. But we can both say we can both answer that question the same way and mean exactly the opposite thing. Yeah. So it's a bad question to ask. So when somebody says, oh, well, we need immigration reform, first define for me what you say that is.
I honestly believe that, okay, immigration reform, why are we even thinking about that? Don't we have more important things to worry about?
Like the economy?
Exactly. Exactly. The economy right now, to me, is not good. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, when people are demanding $15 an hour to flip a burger, we got an issue. And we really do, okay? Yes. Because there are people out there who make less than that, who do more than that.
Yes.
So my argument would be, okay, here we are, we're talking about the wrong, we're focusing on the wrong subjects here. Reform, it's never going to work, because we have these people coming in and out of the country all the time. Now, I'm not trying to say, oh, because I'm Hispanic or anything else. I mean, these people are trying to come over here for a better life, but is it really better? In most cases to them, it is, because for example, if you speak a little Spanish, which you do, if you were to go to Mexico and you know how to speak English and Spanish, you would be granted a job like crazy. But because you know English. Now, for them, I mean, you know what? Learn English. You know, pick up a different language, and I'm sure the opportunities would open up for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, because I do know that, the wage, there you go. Right. The wage is totally different. I mean, they're making like $60 a week.
Right.
And that's a lot of money. That to them, that's okay money. And then you come over here and we're making $500-600 a week, and you're like, okay, what's going on here?
Right.
But my argument is, we have bigger issues right now than to worry about that. Why are we focusing on that?
Yeah, why create anger in the country and in Congress when there are much more important things that we can work on?
Can we put that on the back burner? I mean, because we've been trying to keep these people out of the United States for a long time, and it doesn't really...
And it's not even, and this is the problem, it's not even that we're necessarily trying to keep them out. We're just saying, we want you all to come through the front door.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
yes.
We have a process by which people come here legally.
And I don't want to offend anybody out there in cyber world. So please let me reframe that. I agree with Robert. It was said wrong. We don't mind you guys coming in because, of course, it's that is the United States. It is the free.
Yeah.
Just come in the right way. Don't try to come in the back door that doesn't exist.
Or through a window, or through, which is, that's basically like if I were to open all the windows and doors here, and people were climbing through everything, instead of ding dong, can I come in?
Yeah.
But
at the same time, there is a lot of people trying to come through the front door, and yes, it gets funneled. So it may delay the process, and I know people get antsy and they just want to come. Understand that. But at the same time, I think we're just focusing on the wrong subjects right now. And I think there are more pressing issues. You got healthcare as an issue, and you have the economy as an issue.
Yep.
To me, I think those are the more pressing issues that people need to get behind.
Yeah.
I think that's just my opinion.
Agreed. He's like, why throw a grenade in the room, which is essentially what he's doing. He's throwing a grenade in the room, and just to see what kind of carnage is created.
You're throwing a grenade in a room with full of boxes with nitroglycerin. Okay, that thing doesn't react well to a jolt. Okay,
that's right.
Don't do it. Just leave it alone.
Exactly. Okay.
We agree.
We do. Okay. One last soapbox. As y'all may know, Tara and I volunteer every Monday night out at the local pet rescue here at Pet Swish. And it's a lot of work. I mean, some days it's just Tara and I, and we go there 6 o'clock, and we've been there as late as midnight before. Mm-hmm. Okay. If we happen to have other people that show up, then we've gotten out as early as 8:30. It's just all over the map. They have a lot of broken processes because they literally don't have any money to do stuff. I mean, they literally are going, what's the word they're using? They're hanging on by a shoestring. They're literally living off every donation of time and money that comes to them. And even so, they have huge bills, utility bills, the vet bills, because so many of the animals are abused, even tortured, that are and dumped there. And it just gets Tara and I very, very angry when we see this. But it's getting worse. We're seeing it happen more frequently, and now we're getting into the colder weather. We've had these nearly freezing nights, and a couple of days ago, somebody was, I guess, going to work, and they saw a little chihuahua tied to what appeared to be an abandoned house, just tied up there in the cold. Now, one person had some extra blankets in their car, and they put those down for it, and then somebody else rescued the dog, brought the little fella to a Pet Swish where they tried to care for it, but unfortunately it died overnight because it was so far gone. This is kind of like the last straw for me. I'm just so ready to lash out at people. It just angers me that this town, Del Rio, is most of the people in this town totally disregard this. I know so many people that they vote for all these big programs that confiscate money from you and me to do things, but they won't get off their lazy butts and actually go to a place like this, a pet rescue or a shelter, and actually donate time. Don't don't tell me you care about stuff like this when you won't actually go to the place and see what the problems are and what's being dealt with. There are, over the year that we volunteered, we've seen hundreds of animals come through. There are cats and dogs. We've seen them come through where there were just a box of puppies dumped somewhere, where they're just exposed to the elements, laying in their own feces, covered in maggots and ants, dying. We've seen them where a cat is brought in where some idiot has taken a pistol type what am I talking? Like a bolt gun that shoots bolts, not bullets, and shot a cat in the face with it. And fortunately, they were able to get the poor thing to the vet and remove what was left of the bolt, and the cat was able to heal. It's a miracle that it didn't create any brain damage to this cat. And then seeing things like this, I drive around this town and I get so angry because I see idiots in the city of Del Rio who have their animals tied up outside in this kind of weather. Either it's very cold or it's very hot. There's no protection for them. There's no way to keep them warm or keep them cool. I'll see them without food or water, and it just makes me mad enough to drive my car through their living room. I want to take these people and treat them exactly the way they treat these animals. So many people in this town, they think, oh, let's get a little puppy, let's get a little kitten, and then they're not in any way, shape, or form prepared to actually take care of the animal. Why don't you have a proper fence or a run for the animal to have freedom to move? It's sickening to me that you think it's smart to have a dog, especially, and then chain it to in a 5 foot of chain to a tree, and think that that is a healthy way. Why do you have the animal in the first place? Or, well, I don't want him chained up, but I'm too cheap and lazy to build a fence, a proper run or a fence around my house. So what do? I open my front door in the morning and the afternoon, and I let my dog run around in the front yard and go pee and poop, and then hopefully the dog or the cat is going to come back in afterwards. No, that's how these strays get out there. This is how we see post after post after post on Facebook. Hey, I've lost my cat. I've lost my dog. Well, let's see. Did you have a collar on your dog? Oh, no. No. Did you have a tag on that, which would have at least the vet that if we find a dog or cat and can rescue, and we can contact the vet and say, hey, who does this poor animal belong to, and reunite you with them. Now, I totally get that accidents happen. Some dogs, and some dogs especially, are very good diggers, and you can build like what seems like a fortress of a fence, and they somehow found a way to dig under or get on something, climb over. I understand that, but those should be the exceptions that prove the rule. If you've got an animal, before you get the animal, research the proper way to take care of them and keep them protected. Don't let them become another statistic out there. I'm sick of seeing animals die or come in with all sorts of mistreatment and illness because the uncaring, uncompassionate people of Del Rio, Texas are doing this kind of thing. And then those who claim that they really care are not. I don't see you out here at the local pet rescue or the animal shelter. I don't see you people out there volunteering an hour or two a day or a week or a month to help out take care of these animals. It's time that the people in this town wake up and realize that these animals are domesticated. We have bred cats and dogs for our companionship, for working dogs, for just a house dog, whatever, or protection, but we've bred them for domestication. So we have a responsibility to properly care for these dogs and cats. So it's time for the people of Del Rio to get off their lazy, incompassionate butts and actually start doing something about this. It doesn't require a lot from you, but just to say, I can donate a little time. I can take care of the animals that I have. And if I get one, spay, neuter the animal so that you don't end up with a box full of puppies or kittens and end up dumping them somewhere in an alley, which has happened multiple times, or you take them to the pet rescue or the shelter and dump them there. The animal control place here I know they get tired of having to pick up these animals, and I know it sickens some of them to actually have to put some of them down. They'll contact the pet rescue that we volunteer with. They'll contact them and say, hey, we've got 1 day left with this dog, and it just doesn't seem right that we have to put it down. Can you take it? And it's tough for the rescue, which is already over capacity, to say, it's tough to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that creates more work for the very few of us. I mean, literally, it's just a handful of us that volunteer. They don't get grants or anything, although they're trying to correct that. They're trying to get grants, but they don't get any kind of help other than the benevolence of a handful of people in this town. And it's ridiculous. A town of 40,000 people can't get more than 10 people to say, we'll help in some small way. It's time for this to stop. So that's my soapbox.
Enough said. Yeah. I got nothing.
That's okay. You don't have to.
You know, a lot of people go and kind of like, just like Rob said right now, you know, oh, I think that would be great for my kids, or, you know, you go and you spend $200 or $300 on an AKC registered, you know, animal. And if you're going to spend that kind of dough, you know, obviously you're going to want to keep the animal. But for the most part, there's a lot of people going around selling dogs, you know, for $150 or whatever like that. And they'll tell you, you know, the mother's registered, the father's registered, we just didn't do the paperwork on it or whatever. And then, you know, you just get rid of the dog. I know that having kids and all, they want puppies and everything, but I just don't have the resources to take care of it the way it should be taken care of. So I just don't do it.
Right.
But there are a lot of people out there that will go ahead and try it, and then they figure out, oh, it's not going to work.
Yep.
And then they just, you know, leave the dog outside, or they just let it go,
or they
whatever.
take him out to the country somewhere and dump him.
Dump them, you know. Yep. So be smart, be adult, be grown up about this. If you can't, don't try to please your children by giving them something when you know that you're in over your head. A pet is a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of work, especially if you don't have a fence. If you're going to keep them inside, they're going to do their business. And it gets tiring having to clean up. If you have carpet, it's even worse.
That's why we went to tile.
Yeah, it's even worse. You know, Rob removed his carpet because he does have his pets. But they do have a way to get in and out of the house, which is beneficial for him. But, you know, it takes time for them to get used to go out there. So in the meantime, they do their business. You know, but if you're not ready for that, just don't do it.
Right.
That's the only advice that I'll give you.
Exactly. Okay. So, all right. So I was I'm a member of scubaboard.com, which is a great website. Changing gears back to diving. It's a great website if you just want to converse with other divers from all over the world. Get a lot of advice because there's so many different forums that you can talk about, and get advice from experts. And even a lot of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not reps per se, but they are sort of from the various equipment manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll often find people from Scuba Pro, from Aqualung, from Oceanic, who are also members, and they will often answer a lot of questions for people that say, hey, I've got this, and I've not been able to talk to tech support, but has anybody else run into this? And suddenly you're getting an answer from Oceanic or Scuba Pro or whatever. It's a great website. So if you're not a member of scubaboard.com, please check it out. You know, if you're any serious at all about diving. And so I'll get email updates from like, here's some hot topics kind of thing. And it's kind of like you get from LinkedIn if you're a member of LinkedIn. Yeah. And one of the topics that started floating around was somebody asked about the future of local dive shops. You'll usually see this referred to as LDS, local dive shop. And it was kind of interesting. The question, it was posed by a guy named Captain Sinbad. How original. He posed a question. He said he points out a couple of things in his original post that started this long thread, and there were several pages of discussion that happened as a result of it. One of the things that he's been noticing, just in his own experience, and I've kind of noticed this too, that most people that he talked to on dive trips, so you're going to all these different places and diving with people that you've probably never met before, is that when he asked them, well, where did you get your gear? Most of them are saying, bought it online, went to Leisure Pro or Diver Supply or, any number of places worldwide.
Right.
So in other words, this isn't like something he's seeing that's unique to the United States. Because, if you dive in exotic places, you will be diving with not just people from America, but you'll find yourself diving with people from all over. When we went to Belize, we spent a whole week diving with people from Spain.
Oh, wow.
Fortunately, the daughter could speak pretty good English, and so she kind of helped interpret. I could only pick up a few bits of the Spanish because they would speak it so fast. I'm like, slow down, because I'm not by any means fluent. But so you will run into people from all over the world that you'll talk to. And so this guy has noticed that more often than not, people have purchased their equipment online. And we have bought pretty much all of our equipment
pretty much
online. There's a few things that happen to be at a dive shop, and I'm like, oh, I want one of those, and it's a decent price. I'll buy it.
Well, usually I'll go as far as saying that is most of the things that I've actually bought online are the small little trinket things, like the Sea Gold or like I got my Save a Dive kit,
right?
At a local dive shop, and it just happened to be because I walked in, I saw it, and I said, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah,
and I got it. But yeah, most of the stuff that we've got, I mean, it's online because you, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but you just can't beat the price.
You really can't. And there's reasons for that. I'm a capitalist, okay? I do not fault any business for trying to make money, okay? But I'm also a consumer, and so I'm going to try to get the best price I can. And so typically the best price that I can get for something is going to be online. Now, Del Rio has had its ebb and flow of dive shops in this town. At one point, we had 2 dive shops, and we bought stuff from each of them, partially because, all right, we could once you factor in the prices were good enough that once you factored in the shipping, it was pretty close, and you just wanted to support the local dive shop. But that only goes so far. And usually economies of scale will grant you some pretty awesome deals when you buy packages online with a number of these places like Leisure Pro or Diver Supply. But this guy said, okay, so I've noticed that more often than not, folks have purchased online. And then also he noticed a trend towards what he called basement instructors. He noted that LDSs seemed to be trying to counter the reduction of customers by adding repair facilities, getting their folks trained to do repairs. Because most people don't want to send their gear off to a nondescript place to get repaired. They'd rather take it to, or in our cases, send it to a dive shop that happens to also specialize in repairs. So, his thing was he was noticing that more and more instructors are becoming independent or becoming like a basement instructor. And I thought, well, that's kind of true. I mean, that's kind of my case.
Yeah.
I mean, we had dive shops, but the beauty of PADI, Professional Association of Dive Instructors, is while they do have a wonderful support mechanism for a PADI dive shop, and they have all their various, like a 5-star PADI dive shop kind of thing. They have all that, but you're not required to be with a dive shop to be an instructor. Some of your other certifying agencies do require you to be affiliated with a dive shop in order to do stuff. And there are definitely there are some benefits from organizational from Patty's perspective if you are affiliated with one, but we just simply don't have that here.
No.
So if anyone wants to get certified in the Del Rio, Texas area, if it weren't for me, then they would have to go to San Antonio to actual dive shops because there's a handful of those there. So it's but the thing is, it costs money to have a brick and mortar place.
Yeah.
I mean, our friend Lana, who had a local dive shop here, they had a wonderful place, but that got costly.
Yeah.
To maintain that, eventually they had to stop doing it.
I think a lot of the stuff that Lana had mentioned as to why they had to kind of sort of get out of it. One was the overhead of the cost of the building and everything else, which was their home.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a really unique thing. The other thing too was because they had to, they had their daily jobs to do.
Right.
Their hours of business were.
That didn't help their situation.
Yeah, it was really really handy. It was a crutch to say the least.
Yeah.
But then also the manufacturers. I remember her making
the licensing.
The licensing of the manufacturers that she had with some of these
like Aqualung.
Like Aqualung, right? That was one of her distributors. They had special requirements that she had to maintain, which was crazy. I mean, she had to maintain a certain amount of sales per year. I believe it was 10,000.
Yeah,
I mean
in Del Rio, Texas.
Yeah, and that's just not gonna happen. I mean, you could do that in a big city, but here in Del Rio, I mean, unless you're selling cars, I mean, it's just not gonna happen.
Right.
I mean, come on, really, realistically. So, I mean, it was tough. It was tough. And I think there was also that she needed to get equipment and get certified as to repair the actual all of that stuff, because we had talked about me getting certified to actually repair the regulators and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Except they shut down shop before I had the chance to
to actually do that.
to do that.
I know.
But I actually have recently, when we were in Killeen with
Dr.
Mendoza.
Yeah.
Dr. Mendoza, he had said, look, if you want to go and get certified, I'll send you, even though you're not affiliated with my dive shop, but just so that you can go, you're more than welcome to go as under my shop name, go as an instructor or as an employee of mine to get certified in fixing these. And his reasoning behind that was because you still have to buy all the parts through a licensed dealer. So you're going to get all your replacement parts through me anyway.
Yeah.
So it was like a win-win, but I just never
followed up
on that. And then he shut down his shop. But now he's, like you said, now he's become a basement.
Exactly. And that's okay. And, like I said, it's easier. And I kind of took some of my cue from the late Richard Urban. He had a pretty good setup, and it's worked out very well for us.
Yeah.
Having basically a mobile dive center. So I've got a trailer that's got all the equipment I need for teaching classes, and it's got I can do air fills and everything. It's all inclusive. I can go anywhere I want to with it, but I'm not paying. My investment in that is substantially less than what I would be spending on a brick and mortar place to run out of there.
I think the only thing you're lacking, because you have everything, is just your own pool.
Yes.
Kind of like the way Richard had it. And this way everything would be self-contained. You wouldn't have to worry about anything or anyone.
Exactly.
So that would be the only thing.
Missing.
Yeah.
So back to the original question, what's the future of a local dive shop? I guess it totally, and there were a lot of people that commented on all these reasons why local dive shops are important. And I don't think anybody in the business denies the value of a local dive shop. There's something about just that it exists that for divers, it just becomes, even if it's not an active place that is a nexus for them, it is it's a mental nexus for folks. You know, we have a dive club. Our presence is virtual. Our presence is on the web. And we have a number of people that follow stuff that are going on there. We've gotten dives going with people through that. We have dive club meeting every month, but hardly anybody shows up for it because it's not it's at a restaurant, it's not at a dive shop, and so it's not as enticing for folks to think of a restaurant as a gathering place for that kind of stuff, as opposed to going to an actual dive shop. There's something about walking into a place and you're surrounded by dive gear that kind of makes you feel
the smell of that neoprene just kind of there's no way to describe it.
That's right.
They're really, and you know what I'm talking about. There's just no way to describe it. If you're a diver and you've gone into a dive shop, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just the smell of the wetsuits,
right?
And looking at all the stuff that you can't really afford but you really want.
It's funny with the number of people that we actually have that are active enough divers, I could hold the meeting in my trailer.
The funny thing was back, a few years ago, walked into the dive shop in San Antonio, and I'm not going to say its name, but there's only, they got 2 locations. Okay. So I'll say it that much.
Yeah.
One of them is on West Avenue.
Yeah.
And I walked in there and had a guy with me, and he was like, "Are you crazy? Look at how expensive this stuff is." And I go, "Yeah, check this out. This is awesome, right?" And I pulled a regulator and showed it to him. He was like, "And what does this do?" And I said, "Well, that's my life support. That's what feeds me air." And he was like, looking at it, he goes, $700? That's crazy. I said, "Yep." When we got back to the house, I pulled out my regulator, and that's the one that I had, the Legend, And he was like, "You have that?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You spent $700? I go, you don't look at it in terms of cost. You look at it in terms of life support.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's not what we paid for it.
No.
But that's a first impression. And I was trying to get him into, getting certified.
Yeah.
And when he saw the prices on some of the gear, he was like, "No, that's too expensive." I said, "Well, it's not really that expensive." But anyway, I just wanted to share that story because it was like.
But that's true. That's true. When you walk into most local dive shops, the sticker shock will knock you on your rear end.
Yeah, but going back to what we were saying, you walk in and have a meeting, it's just the smell of the neoprene.
Yeah, that's what for a diver, you're just kind of looking around and seeing all of this stuff that you're like, "Oh wow, this is awesome." Let's see, looking to see. Oh, I hate it when websites dramatically change up their.
They went all flash.
Well, no, it's just here we go. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, really. Here we go. Okay, so this kind of lets us segue into. Let's I guess finish the thought. I think that because it's easier and easier for dive clubs to get together, for instance, and if they're active enough, they don't have to be real busy. If they're active enough, it's easy enough for like a dive club to say, "Let's get together and invest in a compressor and the training to use it and the supplies. Part of your dues is to help maintain this." So it becomes a thing. It's like, well, we'll do air fills for you for $5 or whatever. And your dues help go towards the maintenance of this and buying filters, etc. Or for an instructor to do exactly what I've done. I've probably got, if I were to total up all the stuff that I've purchased since I became an instructor, which is 2008, trailer, compressor, gear, I've probably spent about $30,000. That's ballpark for all the equipment. But it's been over the process of time.
Right.
Didn't get all at once. I was able to teach a student at first because that's all the spare equipment that I had.
Yeah.
But now I could teach a class of 6, which is as large a class as I feel comfortable teaching out here at Amistad because of the visibility. But I see that it's going to depend on the area where you live, whether or not a local dive shop can make it. Like I said, Del Rio has had 1, then none, then 1, then 2, then 1, now none. I mean, we've kind of been across the map on that. So it's because we just don't have enough throughput here to make a full go of it.
Yeah.
Even the last one that survived, they really weren't a full-fledged dive shop.
No. And I think it's I think it's a shame, being the fact that we have a military installation here that filters, students regularly through here. Mm-hmm. We do have the means because of the lake. It is there, even though it fluctuates. It goes up and down. Yeah. But still, it's like we've said before. It is a place to dive. There's just no reason other than it is. It's rough. We should have at least that ability to be able to sustain one, even though it may not have a tremendous amount of stuff, but at least have something.
Yeah, it's a shame. So I think some areas LDSs are going to survive very well if they have a good organization and can bring the certified divers together to help keep it alive, and then drawing more divers into, more students in. But I think in areas like Del Rio, Texas, the only way scuba diving continues is independent basement instructors, as Captain Sinbad talked about.
Yeah.
So this allows us to segue into our final segment, which is 7 myths about scuba diving. And so first up is scuba diving is too expensive to get started into. Really, the classes can be, matter of fact, where I pulled some of this from, anywhere from $250 to $500 for classes. And I'm kind of right in there in the middle, maybe a little bit low end. You got to know what your market is, who's your target demographic, and then ultimately what costs you're having to compensate for. It ain't cheap on an annual basis, depending on where you are at. It's not cheap to maintain all the annual fees and licenses and insurance, etc. So, we have to make enough to at least cover that. But you figure anywhere from $250 to $500 for the certification. I charge $325.
Yep.
And you get the use of the actual dive equipment. All you have to come to the table with is your own personal gear: mask, fin, snorkel, wetsuit, that kind of thing.
I think that's right, like you mentioned, right within the ballpark.
Yeah.
To get started, I mean, that's what I paid. That's what I paid. That's what I paid for all 3 of my certs. So I think it's fine. Of course, the dive master is a little more demanding.
Yeah.
So of course that.
Yeah, you're buying a lot of books.
You're buying books, but not
like
only that, the course itself is more task loaded because of the mere fact that the instructor has to actually bring you into his classes.
Yeah.
So, there's just more involved in that, which is, of course, that's why that certification is more expensive.
Yep.
But
for the basic class, $325, and you're certified for life.
That's what I always tell everybody. You go through it. It's about 4 days, 2 classroom, 2 out in the water, and you're certified for life. So, I mean, that's not a bad deal.
Yep.
And it allows you to dive anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world. And speaking of that, the second most common myth is that I don't live near the ocean, so why should I learn to scuba dive? Hello, we're in Del Rio, Texas. We're a pretty good fair way away from the ocean. It's a 6-hour drive to get to the ocean if we go. And I've never been.
At least.
Never been to our coast. I've never been to the Texas coast. And I'm kicking myself for still, after all these years, having not been down there. And I want to go diving. There's plenty of opportunities. But thing is, you don't only have to have an ocean to dive in. Any body of water. Most people, if you're in any kind of a town, you live near some sort of a water source.
Mm-hmm.
Most people do. So there's some place you can go. People in San Antonio, you got Canyon Lake, you got Medina, you've got a number of other lakes, and you got Comal River. In Del Rio, we have Lake Amistad. We have San Felipe Creek. We've gone diving in there plenty of times.
Yep.
Not the deepest of dives, but I've gone there many times. We've gone diving in we've been diving in our own spring that feeds our water source in this town. We've been diving in another spring that is
a private spring.
A private spring. There are plenty of places. If you just think about it, there are plenty of places for you to dive. There may be rock quarries that are filled in. Heck, another place we've been wanting to go is Valhalla.
Yes,
it's a former missile silo that has been abandoned, and now it's got water in it, and people dive there.
The actual water there was actually, it's made that way because it had to keep the missile cool.
Right.
So they just kind of left it. So it's filled with water. Apparently, I guess the missiles are underwater.
Well, there's no missiles there anymore.
Yeah, anymore, but before.
Gutted, but see, if you live 50 miles away from a water source, you've got an opportunity to go diving. And here's the thing: getting certified to scuba dive does for you is it opens up your vacation opportunities at to a level that you've not considered before. I know so many people that, they go up in the mountains, which, guess what? There's a lot of lakes that you find in the mountains and stuff like that. Hold on while I pick up our dog again. Now you can get back there. There are plenty of places wherever you go to look at for scuba diving, and I see my wife and producer has returned from the show. She was running lights for that's not I won't repeat that. She was running lights for the final show of the Upstagers for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what's the final show? They're not doing any more shows until the new year. How'd it go, by the way? Good. Was there a good crowd? Was it full? Or not quite full, not quite a packed house, but it's a kind of a kids show. It's called the Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and so it's got a number of kids in it. So their relatives and their relatives' relatives are all there. So they had a pretty
wild crowd.
Pretty wild crowd. Oh, look at little Tommy, So anyway, being a scuba diver means that you look at your vacations in a totally different way. It's not all about just stuff you do in the hotel room or the cabin or even on a cruise. Ow. That hurt. Even on a cruise, that really dramatically changed the one time we went on a cruise. Because I was already certified. Tara wasn't. But then because we're going on that trip, she got certified. So that really changed dramatically the opportunities that we had. So we got to do a dive in Grand Cayman,
right,
which was awesome. It was her first saltwater dive, which was fantastic. So it opens up your opportunities for your vacations, but you can always find places if you're willing to actually go out and dive. There's plenty of places, any body of water you can dive in.
And yeah, I mean, I don't dive as much as I did at one time, but
that's not a lie.
Yeah, that's no lie there, and Robert's constantly reminding me. But there was a time when, I mean, I was taking days off just to hit the water.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter where it was. I mean, I'd dive in a swimming pool if I had to.
Right.
But I had to be submerged, you know, and I think some of the best dives that we had were here just in the local creek.
Right.
I mean, you're talking 8 feet.
Yeah.
You know, as long as I could, my head went below water. I mean, we're good,
Right,
you know.
right.
We mentioned some springs. We actually have been the second people to actually dive in the spring.
Yeah.
Because they just don't allow people to do it. And then we were the first people to dive in that private spring.
Right.
So
Right.
that was pretty cool.
Number 3 on the list is scuba dive is only fun in warm water. Now, for me, that's pretty much true. But because I do really like diving, I try to dive even during the winter months. There's plenty of gear. There's plenty of thicker wetsuits, and if you want to go dry suit diving, there's actually the larger life is in the colder water. So there's actually more things and bigger things that you can see in colder water than you can in the warmer water. And if you're willing to go get the additional training for like dry suit diving, it makes it much more comfortable, and it opens up your opportunities to dive in colder water. If you dive, for instance, on the Pacific coast, that's cold until you get down to the equator. If you're diving in California, that's going to be all cold water diving.
Yep.
So, those folks, when we see those folks coming into here, they're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. And the majority of the people that dive, in the Pacific are actually dry suit
divers, yeah.
Yeah, they're dry suit divers. I mean, that's very, very, very just common. Like in San Diego, in those places, that water's super cold.
Oh, so, yeah. Trying to convince our rescue dog. Come here. Oh, you're not gonna. Normally, she'll if I lean back, she'll just hop right up into the chair. So yeah, that's absolutely true. So don't let warm water be the only thing that you don't be a warm water snob. Look at the opportunities to dive in a little bit cooler water. All it just means may mean that you dive in a thicker wetsuit.
Yeah.
If you think the only diving you can do is going to be just in t-shirts and shorts like you're in the Caribbean, then you're going to be severely limiting your opportunities to dive. I can dive earlier and later in the year here by having a 5 mil and a 7 mil wetsuit with hood and gloves.
Right. Kind of like the my new activity, which is cycling. Just like that. I mean, who's going to cycle in 30-degree weather or 20-degree weather? There are people that do it because they sell the actual, because they actually sell gear
for that purpose.
Yeah. So just like if you're going to cycle or if you're going to ride a motorcycle in this type of weather or in the rain, they sell the proper gear for it.
Right.
Just like scuba. And you'd have to make a little bit of investment, but please don't let that stop you.
Right. And then number 4 is scuba equipment is too expensive. Again, it has every year, while the newer equipment is getting more and more sophisticated and enabling more features, such as rebreather systems are actually now in the realm of the recreational diver. Mm-hmm. So because they're becoming easier to maintain for the average user with very little training, although it's important training, but with very little training, and the prices are coming down. But what moves into the realm of the recreational diver is becoming more and more sophisticated. Things that used to be only for the serious, diehard tech with lots of money kind of diver. Now that's not true. Mm-hmm. When I first got into diving, when I first got certified in 2000, my first set of equipment, aside from my personal gear, was about $1,500.
Yeah.
Now that will buy you a pretty snazzy set of gear these days, but you don't have to spend that much to get a nice package of a nice setup of gear.
Mine I got through Lana, my whole complete.
That's
person.
right. That's right.
And that was around 16.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, let me switch to. No, I don't need any help. No thanks. Let me switch to a screen region here. So here's just some examples of the wide variety. LeisurePro.com. Here you got a basic. Now these are like name brand type stuff. So they're Oceanic and Aris Get Wet package. $6.49 gets you a weight integrated BC regulator with primary and alternate, and a cool hat, and your console with depth gauge and pressure gauge. Another setup, Travelite package by Cressy, $7.79. Now, the setup you can get for like $9.99 or $1,000 right here, you get a pretty cool setup. You get a really one of the higher end Cressy computers with the regular pressure gauge, weight integrated BC, one of their higher end regulator and octopus combos, and the travel bag for $1,000. So you're ready to travel for that. If you don't, let's see if they got any. Here's another setup, a Cressy starter package. Again, one of their little bit lower end, but still excellent because it's all life sport. One of their lower end regulator packages with analog gauges and weight integrated BC and a schnazzy hat, $5.39. So. And you can get cheaper than that, even if you go shop around different places.
That Oceanic looks nice.
Oh, this setup?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does actually.
For $10.99.
Yeah, that's a nice little setup. And look at what for $1,500 you get the Ziegel is like one of the high end deals. But for that $1,500 that I spent, now you can get what would have been well out of my price range at that time. Yeah. I wouldn't have even touched a Ziegel setup for that price. So I mean, you can spend huge amounts of money above that, but you can spend a lot less. Here's a $4.99 package, Martes. Excellent. Again, you're ready. You can dive because if you take the class, you're gonna have your personal gear. So you're gonna have your mask fins, wetsuit, and snorkel. For $500, you've got everything. All you need is the tanks and weights. And when you go on a typical dive trip, that's what you're That's what you're paying for the trip for. When you go with whatever dive shop, dive operation, in Belize or whatever. You're renting, as part of the package, you're renting the tanks and weights anyway.
Yep.
So now I often encourage divers to go ahead and get a tank, at least a tank, and pick up some weights, cheap. I made my own first weights. That shows you, I got, this is a little bit of literally making of the sausage here. When I first started diving, I bought all this stuff. I happened to have somebody who was leaving the area, was going to a place where he figured he'd never get to dive again. So he was selling his tanks, which I still have, and they're in great shape. They're still my two primary tanks. I bought both tanks for $50.
Wow.
Yeah, 80 cubic foot tanks. Got them for $50. They had only been through one hydro, so they were still fairly new. But so I got those, and then I realized, I need weights. And we didn't have, you couldn't buy any weights at the one dive shop that we had here. You could only rent gear from them. They sold nothing. You could rent gear and get air fills. That was it. So I was like, and I really didn't have any spare cash at that time to go buy some weights, because unfortunately buying weights shipped to you, that costs a bit because it's lead and the shipping costs are so that's a case where you want to actually buy those from a dive shop if you can.
The weight.
Yeah. But I thought, you know what? It's just lead. So I went to one of the local tire shops, and the lead weight that, the balance weights that when you get your tires, when you replace your tires and they rebalance them, they pull off the old lead weight, and they normally have to dispose of those properly through hazardous waste because it's lead. So I said, well, I'll buy a box of these lead weights off of you. So I literally did for $5. I got enough lead weight to easily outfit me even in my thickest wetsuit at that time. And so I took all that weight, all that lead. You know, I didn't worry about shaping it. I kind of like hammered like the edges off if it was kind of sharp edged. But I literally just put those in a scale and weighed out 3 pounds, 5 pounds, and 2 pounds. So I had 3 different sizes of weights. And then I took just some old blue jeans that were all raggedy and everything. I'm like, well, I can get rid of these. And so I literally just cut sections out, filled, basically sandwiched into the blue jean material, the actual lead. And then I wrote on a black magic marker what the weight was for it. Virtually free.
Yep.
That I had my own lead weights. But eventually I said, you know, I need to kind of step up my game a little bit. And so I bought real lead. But there was an easy, virtually free way to get my own weights. So I encourage people to get at least a tank and either make your own weights or buy some weights. Well worth it. But again, it's not that expensive to get into, for your first set of gear kind of situation. There's always deals to be had. And if you call a lot of these online companies, they'll work a package deal for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You've gotten some sweet deals.
Yeah. You know, and I actually, some of the deals that I got and some of the equipment that I was able to get, my cold water gear is what I call it, was off the piggyback of somebody else. Usually during, friends and whatnot who like, hey, just got certified diving, and they go to these places to acquire gear.
Right.
It's kind of like they're ordering their gear, and then they're like, well, do you need anything else? And then, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the money if you order this wetsuit for me. So this way it saves me on the shipping. But then by adding that wetsuit, they gave me a discount on the wetsuit. Plus, my friend also got an additional discount because he bought more gear. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
But, I got a $600 suit for $200.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, that was crazy.
2/3 off. And again, if you buy after the season too, you'll see a lot of stuff that is in closeout. Kind of like buying cars.
The same thing like my regulator. I mean, I was never going to spend $700 on it, but $400 was better than $700, or I was saying it was $300. When they had it on sale and it was only for a limited time, I ordered it and got it, and Rob saw it. Yeah. What did you pay for it? And I was like, yeah, let's check it out.
Like,
so
he went kidding me.
He went online, and it sure enough, but it was, and we got the same reg.
Yep, and love it.
Yep.
Number 5, classes are difficult and take too long. Back in the day, a class, the way the courses ran, they were so involved and not really recreationally minded. It would take you 3 or 4 weeks to actually go through just a basic course. But now with all the advent of, refining the teaching methods, what you actually need to know, online learning, that kind of thing, easily 4 days, which is about the way I've got my course set up, is a 4-day class, because I deal with pilots, I deal with Border Patrol. They have precious little time anyway. Teachers, they have precious little time, so I had to try to work the class, and most of your dive agencies have it in such a way where there's some flexibility in the course structure. So 4 days, 5 days, it could take longer if you need to. I'm not the type that's going to cattle prod you through the whole thing. It's like, I've got it structured to keep it compressed, so you're in there, you get it done, and you move on. Yeah. So it doesn't take nearly as long anymore.
Not like how you and I got certified.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Number 6, sharks. And I get that all the time. Hey, you see any sharks? I'm like, if it's in the ocean, yeah, as a matter of fact. And if you've looked at any of the videos that we've shown here, or if you go onto my YouTube channel, you see, especially our trip to Belize, lots of sharks. They don't care. They don't care about you. If you don't mess with them, they're just going to cruise on by. Literally, they just are looking. If they can see you well enough and you can see them well enough, there's no way they're going to mistake you for, for their food. As a matter of fact, what I was reading, based on U.S. statistics, they kill, I thought this was interesting, kill less than one person annually.
Less than one person?
Less than one person. So I guess they only kill short people.
I guess they only
midgets.
kill half
midgets.
the person.
They only kill half a person. On average, 150 people die each year from falling coconuts. In the U.S., this is U.S. Champagne corks, they take out 24 people a year.
Champagne corks.
You know, that's some drunk people that don't know how to open up a bottle of champagne safely. Here, let me open this up. Dunk, and takes you out.
They're
Hits
pointing
you in
at
the
your
eye.
face.
Yeah. Cows are attributed for 20 deaths annually. I guess you get stepped on them. Well, one of our local vets got kicked and gored by one.
Yeah.
By a bull. But so think about that. If you're more likely to get struck by lightning, killed by a cow or a cork, champagne cork, or a falling coconut than a shark. Most of your shark attacks all happen at the surface anyway.
Yep.
Because they mistake swimmers and surfers. And potentially, I bet you most of the shark deaths that have happened worldwide even have either happened because somebody was stupid and was doing one of those chumming the water kind of things, or they were at the surface.
Yeah.
Which for divers, actually, that's the least safest place for us. We either need to be out of the water or under the water.
You know, I think you stand a risk of getting attacked if you're a surfer.
Absolutely.
Than you would be as a diver.
Yeah. Because we're not splashing around at the surface.
No.
We're down there where the only noise we're making if we're on regular open circuit scuba systems is the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on a rebreather, you ain't making no sound. So, sharks aren't an issue. And there ain't nothing in your typical lake or river or quarry that's going to mess with you either.
Mm-mm.
As a diver.
We get the question, or I get the question a lot here locally, is because we here at the lake there is something called the alligator gar.
Yeah.
And it's a fish, it's a nasty looking fish to say the least. Those things are usually in shallow, very shallow, murky, grassy water. I've never ever seen one in open water in the years that we've been diving. I used to hunt them back in the day when I used to do bow fishing off of Spore 454 when the water was up. But other than that, never seen one.
Here are alligator gar. That's what they look like. And of course, there's lots of different species of them. And they can get quite huge.
Yeah, there's been some, 17.
That's like the typical kind that you'll see in Lake Amistad, if you actually see one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they look like here. One of my earliest dives with Bill Culpepper, as a matter of fact, he had his flashlight. I was just telling him, and I wasn't even certified. We saw one like that. And he shone his light on it, and it was like gone. As soon as it was like, oh, I'm out of here. And they can look menacing, and they can be very big, but they are not a big thing for us. And I've never seen one since then.
No,
never ever. Not as a diver.
And we dive at night.
Yeah,
everything, everywhere you can possibly think of, and no, nothing.
Not a deal to be.
I've seen some big catfish.
Oh yeah, yeah, big catfish. Matter of fact, in one of the caves, ran into a pretty good sized one, which was kind of neat. Hello, there we go. All right, oops, went back too far. All right, and we're down to numero 7, if I can actually get it back up here. Number 7, scuba diving isn't exciting enough. I'm like, what? In what world? I guess if you dive out here at Lake Amistad and you're expecting to see colorful tropical fish, you are going to get bored out of your mind. But for me, I love, one of my favorite things is a wall dive. Even going to places like Belize, etc., I had a bigger blast diving in the Blue Hole, which was basically a round wall dive that had thousands of year old stalactites and stalagmites there. There were no actual, real, substantive, colorful coral growths to look at. What was really exciting was to see the stalactites and stalagmites, and then seeing the Caribbean reef sharks that hung around there. That was it. But going out to Lake Amistad, you'll see maybe a large school of white bass, which kind of is cool when those kind of surround you. Catfish here and there, bass, regular bass, largemouth bass. But it's just the rock walls and seeing like some of the caves, which the last dive I was on, man, I saw a number of little caves there. To kind of peer into, see if you see any large catfish. Go without a preconception of what you're looking for. And every dive can be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
There's always opportunities also, even on the most boring dive, to just practice your skills so that when you do go to a place that is exciting, you're not missing some great stuff because you're focusing on, oh, am I doing this skill right, or do I remember how to do this? No, the skills are tight because you've been practicing in places that are less exciting than going to the Caribbean or whatever. So, and you can also find places to go that have virtually no fish at all, but maybe have like the Athens Park. That's a quarry that they've just sunk a bunch of things in for you to dive on.
Yeah.
Fire engines, a Cessna, that kind of stuff.
Everything, yeah.
What are you doing? Trying to use the microphone. So those are the 7 most common myths about scuba diving. Hopefully we have helped you understand why they are myths.
Mm-hmm.
As Vala is, I'm not sure what you are doing, little one. Trying to check out my mouse. I'm trying to check out my can of Mountain Lightning. Hi. My dogs, I think I'll keep them. All right. Let's see. One last thing before we do some administrivia. Again, coming up fast this next week, as a matter of fact, DEMA, Dive Equipment Manufacturers Association, their big show this year in Las Vegas, 19th to the 22nd of November. I've got to get to one of these gigs. I'd rather wait till it's in Las Vegas the next time it's in Las Vegas, because that'll be a little bit shorter trip.
Right.
They usually go back and forth between Orlando and Las Vegas. This year it's in Las Vegas, so I'm sure unless something changes next year, it'll be in Orlando. So it'll be 2 years before I can get to go to one of these. All right, let's hit some administrative before we close things out here. Next Dive Club meeting, 20 November at 7 p.m. out at Rudy's Restaurant. I just really like the food there. Hopefully we'll see if you're a local diver in the area. I'd love to see you out there. We'll just kind of chat about some opportunities to get in some more diving. And I actually did get my November dive done. Wouldn't be adverse to another one if the weather actually gets a little bit better. But so probably my next dive will be in December, though, barring any other unforeseen circumstances. If you are a cold water diver and you'd like to get air fills, contact Mike McCarson out at Broke Mill RV Park out on Highway 90 West, just past the entrance to our relatively new loop here in Del Rio. If you just go past that little intersection, on the right, you'll see the Broke Mill RV Park, and he's got things set up there with a big cascade system. Just give him a call ahead of time so he knows you're coming, so he can make sure everything's fired up. Just give him a call at 830-719-2935. And as you heard me mention in my little tirade, my little soapbox earlier, The local pet rescue here at Pets Wish desperately needs volunteers, and they desperately need donations of money to cover the vet bills and utilities, that kind of thing, as well as just basic supplies. They have specific supplies that they need, and just contact them. And if you'd like to help them, I really, really encourage you to step out of the box and get involved. If you'd like to keep up with what's going on around here, just visit our website. Just go to delriodiveclub.com. Or if you want to find out if anybody's diving or any other exciting stuff that's going on, or just see pictures and videos and that kind of stuff, check us out on Facebook. Just look for Del Rio Dive Club. Or send us a message via Skype. Just look for TGWD. And then if you would like to contact, converse, exchange information directly with Scuba Bob here, you can just send them an email at...
There it is.
There we go. RS Garza 435 on Skype, or send it to ScubaBob821 at outlook.com.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah, he does not have a person to read his emails.
No.
He does it. He responds directly to you.
There is no automated server sending,
That's right.
Mass emails. I do it personally.
He absolutely is a hands-on kind of guy, so he'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I would.
And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter, just look for @RobertCFP, or send me an email, robert.wade@cetifox.net. That is all we have for this week. Oh, wow. What a
Okay.
That was an interesting little yawn from the little girl here. Hopefully we will see you next week. We love to hear your comments, and we didn't have anybody hang around in the chat room tonight. We had somebody early on. We were having some technical difficulties with the latest version of XSplit that we're having to deal with, but we'd love to hear from you and hear your suggestions or comments, or interact with us live, because we will address your comments live on the air.
Yeah, and like Rob got on his little soapbox about the volunteer and the pet situation here in Del Rio. If you have any questions or anything, I'm sure Rob would be more than glad to assist you.
Absolutely.
Or definitely point you in the right direction if you have anything or any questions with your pets. I mean, if I had a question or anything like that, I would definitely go to him, because he's got his hands full right now.
Literally.
So his hands and his seat's full.
That's right.
So, but I'm sure Rob would be more than glad to assist you with anything you may need before you make that
jump,
or make a huge mistake by just dumping them somewhere.
Right.
Don't do that. If you have,
give a hoot, don't pollute.
Right. Just, obviously he's not going to take the pet off your hands, but he will definitely maybe point you in the right direction.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, rather than just do that, just give him a call.
That's right. That's right. So listen, as it gets colder, we'll be probably doing a little bit less diving, but we'll be looking for more stuff to share with you about diving, especially, and if you are curious about doing some cold water diving, definitely let me know, because we'll try and hook something up. I'm ready to dive at pretty much the drop of a hat, because I've got tanks filled, weights available, everything's ready. Don't let the fact that you don't happen to have your own gear be the thing that stops you. All you need is wetsuit and stuff, that the personal gear to help keep you warm. If you're moving here from the California area or the Northeast, where it's cold water diving, or even up the Great Lakes area, and you've already got your warm water or cold water stuff, but you just need BC and tanks and all that stuff, let me know. I'll let you use some of my student gear if I'm going to get to dive with somebody. So don't let the fact that you don't happen to have all your own gear stop you from diving. I would rather do what I can to help you get back in the water than to let you sit on the sidelines for want of some gear. So, and if you're looking for recommendations on gear to purchase, definitely look us up, because we'll help marry. Again, we are not employed by any of these companies.
No.
We have certain gear that we like because of combination of price and features. That's called value.
Right.
that we would recommend just based on our own personal experience, but we will do our best to help marry you up with gear that suits your budget and your diving profile.
Correct.
So, all right, we had a fantastic time this evening, and we hope to see you next week. Once again, another exciting episode of
Two Guys Who Dive.
See ya.